Welcome, everybody, to House General and Housing. Today is the 20th of February, 2026. We have a busy day. What we're going to do today is, first, we have an obligation to send a letter to the Appropriations Committee advising them of our thoughts about the budgets of various agencies and projects and entities that relate to our housing or general purview. Then we're gonna take a break, and at 11 o'clock, we're just gonna have a walkthrough of H 861. For members of the public, every bill that comes before us, we introduce. The introduction is done by the author, who explains generally what the bill is about. The second step is a walkthrough where we ask our legislative counsel, usually the one who helped draft the bill, to walk us through what's in the bill. And that's going to happen with Act 861, which is an act relating to establishing an Americans with Disabilities Act coordinator. And then we're going to turn to H 775 before lunch and, if necessary, after lunch, and look at it's an act relating to creating tools for housing production. Is at 11:30. Do we have Miriam? Do we have Cameron and John?
We'll be able to be here, Karen, I need that.
Okay, great. So let's go to our letter. I can explain my attempt, and I do not say it's any more than an attempt, to kind of revise the letter in light of your conversations yesterday, the day before. And what I did is, first of all, I renamed the tiers. And this was in part, it's sort of to address what I thought Saudi's concern, which is that we not demote things. So instead of calling them tier 1 and tier 2, I called them highest priority and high priority. The second thing I did is that within the tier, I just put both housing and non-housing in the tiers, rather than dividing the whole letter into housing and non-housing. So if you see with tier 1 starts with VACB and VHIP, and it's the same, I didn't change that. And then I added the extension of the landlord-tenant rental arrears assistance part. True, that's in legislation that we have produced but have not passed, but it's already in law. It's in law right now. And so it's already appropriated 2.5. So I felt like we could, say that we want to extend that. I've had a number of conversations about that because, there's two programs. There's what's going on as the housing, there's the HOP program, and then there's this rental arrears program. And this program is deemed to be very important. It is, just again, for everybody, it's a program there are some concerns about this program, that it's too restrictive. For example, it only works when there's already a ejectment action. Is that wise? Maybe, maybe not. It's very restrictive in certain ways. However, that's not because of anything in legislation. The legislation that authorized this is one sentence long. The whole thing was defined in regulations or guidelines in the housing authority, the Vermont State Housing Authority. And my understanding is that Kathleen Burke, the executive director, and Legal Aid and others are discussing ways that they could make this better. But there's a lot of support for this program, whether or not it's changed. So I put that there. Partly I did it because of a feeling that we have this concern over the homeless, and And we have there are people who are worried that any landlord tenant bill we pass may increase homelessness. It's my view that if we don't pass a bill, it will increase homelessness. But so it would be good if we could do something for that, and I see this as one. So I put it in tier one. I put the human rights. You want to say something? Go
I
ahead.
actually had a question.
Yeah.
So I'm just going back to CHIP last year, and there's a lot of conversations about like the rulemaking and guidance. Does the state housing authority, like, do they need like a nudge to look at the restrictions? Is that something that we might, in our landlord tenant bill, that we might want to kind of put out there that it needs to be relooked at, like new guidelines?
I would think that they have the authority. They are definitely interested in it. I don't think it would hurt for us to communicate to the director. I don't know that we do it through the landlord tenant bill as much as, well, it could be in this letter.
Okay, I
How
wasn't
about we
sure.
have a sentence in this letter that says something like that? I can add that says that we understand that there are discussions on enhancing the process and we think they should continue with all deliberate speed.
Okay.
Okay. Then the last thing I did in tier one, and I'm just gonna stop there, is well, no, I'm not gonna stop. What I did in tier one is I put the Human Rights Commission. But as you can see at the end, I put right in the letter that we think the mediator position is kind of first on the list. I personally think that at this point, there may be no money available for anything. And so I did try to prioritize there and not just ask for the 1.79 million, but ask for the range. You see, I put a range there. That's why. So that's tier one. Yes. What are you thinking?
From my own, not even just myself, from other conversations I've had. And again, I've said that I do feel the mediator position is very important. I actually personally feel that the staff attorney is more important than the mediator.
Other thoughts? I'm on the fence there, so. In fact, I have to confess, when I first drafted this, I put staff attorney. Then I thought, Mark, you just love attorneys. Maybe you should go with the mediator. I don't
Well,
know.
I'm not an attorney.
I know, I'm hearing you.
It's just like them.
I can say,
And I don't like them, they're the worst.
well, I could just take out. Why don't I just say two, if budgetary constraints make the three positions impossible, we would provide towards funding for the mediator and the attorney. For the attorney and the mediator. That's two out of the three.
There's only two.
There's only two on the option. On
Well, both
the
positions
request.
are important. You said the mediator is most
No,
essential.
there's an investigator.
Where?
There's,
You're mixing up the Human Rights Commission.
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry.
Next
Oh,
page.
I'm sorry, you're right. I'm mixing up the. Totally. Where are we? Thank you.
Right here.
Okay, I see. I'm willing to put either one. Or I'm willing to strike the last sentence.
Can we strike the last sentence and then put staff attorney above the mediator position?
I'm willing to do that. Tell me how you all feel. Okay, I'm seeing nodding heads.
Well, why, why is, I mean, I know that's your preference, but we didn't really talk about that, the bill that we heard. And then we kind of added the other part, but I just didn't, that wasn't really discussed with the committee at all.
Right, we're discussing it now. And
No, I
I just,
understand.
yeah, no, I know. I'm just about to tell you, since maybe you couldn't see it. I saw a couple of heads nod, that's all. I'd just like to know how everybody feels. What should I say?
I'd like to just hear the case for that, because I don't know enough about the Vermont Labor Relations Board.
The only thing I can tell you, and perhaps others can add, is they're short-staffed. They've been short-staffed for a while. This has been compounded by the loss of a person over there who had been there for whatever, decades and decades. But
A person being an attorney?
the person who they lost was an attorney, I believe. But there is an attorney, the director. It's just very short-staffed. And the effect of that has been huge delays in responding to workplace complaints. What are they called?
Well, thanks.
But complaints,
Complaints,
yeah.
Yeah.
And the result has been, we have bills on our wall to take things away from them and give them to private arbitration, et cetera. And what we have heard from our council, our legislative council, is the problem with privatizing it all is that you don't have a common body of law that people can look to and know kind of what they're going to get, stuff like that, and that it's better if it's in an agency. And so the idea of giving them
Mark,
yes,
can somebody text Mary the link for today? Her computer's not working.
it's happening.
Got it. Miriam's on it.
Okay, she just texted me.
Oh, great.
And then can I interject when you're done about this?
I'm done. Interject away.
Well, I don't
own
think
this.
that's what the question is. The question was about prioritization. The bill that we had in front of us was to have a mediator position. It was then added to have another position. And
Right.
now we're being asked to, in our letter, put one in front of the other as a priority. Without discussing that or having the bill back. Like, that wasn't the bill. We agreed to put that in, but I'm just saying that wasn't what we were doing.
Well, do you think? One proposal is to strike the last sentence.
I think that's all I'm asking.
What are you
Which-
asking?
The striking the last sentence would say we're not putting a priority.
Well, both positions are important. The mediator is the most essential. And that's just my personal belief. And that's why I had asked. And that's why it's up for
In
discussion.
other words,
To take
I
that out.
had put, to take that out, I had put in the sentence, Emily, and I don't feel strong at all about it. And Ashley said, well, actually, I consider the attorney position more important. And you're saying, I don't think we really have before us.
That's
We
right.
haven't had the discussion necessary to prioritize. And I think that's fine. And why don't we just strike the sentence entirely so we aren't prioritizing?
Just because the original bill was a mediator.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you comfortable with striking that sentence?
Yeah, and if we were to prioritize, then I would want to check in with some folks that, because we kind of just decided that. We didn't talk about that during the testimony of the bill, really.
You're right.
So
You're right.
that wouldn't be appropriate, in my opinion, to just
Okay.
make those decisions.
Okay, that's struck.
That's fine.
Then, so, yeah,
Just the question then, as I recall, the testimony, the staff is understaffed. Mediator is not staffed at all.
right. What it was is that they never had a mediator on staff. They had this federal mediation and
Right.
conciliation service just providing free service to them. And now they're gone.
So one position is preventing getting to one position is for negotiations, the other position is when things have gone wrong. How do you resolve that?
Right,
Is
yeah.
that fair?
One
No,
position,
You don't always, so
go ahead.
this is not my hill to die on. This is just something that I fundamentally believe. like, I think there is one that's more important, but I'm fine with taking this out. I would, my thought process is one, you don't always go to mediation. Mediation is still going to be available
Privately, like.
privately,
and
yeah,
people- Right, okay.
but there, all cases need to have a staff attorney. It's not just for when things go south.
They're both-
That's just me.
Another way of putting it, they both really relate to workload.
Yeah.
The reason they do is mediation helps reduce formal complaints, or it deals with formal complaints. If mediation is either unsuccessful or never utilized, then they have to deal with the formal complaint. And the problem is they're short-staffed. So both are necessary. Gail,
But they already have an attorney,
one, yes.
so they need a second attorney or they want a mediator in place of a second
No,
attorney?
they want both.
The request was for the original request was for the mediator.
So what you're asking, your opinion is, you think just the attorney?
I think they need both, which
Okay.
is why I had asked to put both in. But I was gonna, personally, for me, if we had to prioritize, I would say the staff attorney is a higher priority. That is my opinion. I am very much happy with this language as long as we take out, while both positions are important, the mediator is most essential.
Yeah.
Because
Okay,
Mhm.
is that all right? Okay. What I did was, as you saw in tier two, I did the same thing. I have a housing one. And I have, and then I stuck the proposed legislation at the end. It's just for their information. And otherwise, that's what I did. I don't. There's only one.
So Gail has her.
no, sorry, Gail, I just wanted to point out the last bullet on page 4. I just wanted you to see that. Yeah.
I didn't feel like I could do, I thought whoever said it yesterday was right. The legislation is different because it's not all passed yet. So anyway, how do people feel about this? I don't feel we need a vote, but I'd like to know if we have a consensus or we can do a straw poll. We can do whatever you guys want to do. Every committee does it differently. And I don't want the fact that it's in this draft to mean much. I'm just trying to. My first draft was just a start. My second draft was just to put in, I don't think anything like these numbers will be in the budget. I told the chair of the appropriations committee that we would be putting in numbers, but that we would signal that, that if budget isn't available, we recognize the money not be available. You should know, I found out one more piece of information I'd forgotten. The 12 million for VHCB was an amalgam of 9 million for housing and 3 million for developmental disability housing. You remember the developmental disability situation, just to reprise quickly, remember that there's a need for 600 units, which is incredible. I mean, that's a lot of money. But we have 3 pilot projects. This the 3 million would continue the funding of the pilot project. I mean, it's a fraction of what's needed. And it was just part of their 12 million. I'm just giving you information. It was just part of their 12 million. None of these numbers are going to be in the budget. Yeah.
The last paragraph on page 4. Is that only for off-site modular housing?
The FTE, those two positions.
No, actually, No, it's not.
They're in that bill, but
There, but the language is off. You're right. The language is. What is the language? The language would allow. It's kind of permissive. It would allow the treasurer to work in terms of, to work on both offsite modular and manufactured, I think.
Page 3 or 4.
I'm sorry.
Page 3 or 4. Which one?
Or at the bottom,
Or at the bottom.
last
Last
paragraph.
Yeah, I don't think it should just say.
Well, it's actually, if it was literal, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, to be literal, it would say the following. Program facilitates the aggregation of bulk orders of offsite modular housing paid for the respective project developers and guaranteed by a credit facility provided by the treasurer, which would backstop both offsite modular and manufactured housing.
The two positions are in our bill,
Yeah,
but they're not necessarily directly connected to.
and there's languages which
Housing.
has in it, which was deliberately drafted to allow both offsite modular and manufactured.
Right.
I,
But what the approach committee needs to look at are the two positions for DHCD
Yeah, and I
in
think
our bill, but they're not positions for the housing accelerator. They're a
Right.
separate section.
they're just in the bill, but
okay,
And what the Ways and Means needs to, I think, weigh in on is the $700,000 in interest. But not necessarily what arrangements the treasurer makes. I don't know that,
Yeah.
aside from that, I think that's
This is going to
a
approach.
piece of information that approaches, yeah.
If you said
Yes.
using it, yeah,
well,
Approach
technically.
needs to be-
it's going to both, but we're talking about a letter to approach,
To
right?
approach,
Yeah.
Yes.
Any question? Sure. I'm actually almost embarrassed to ask this. So in our bill, or in our policy bill, we're talking about giving an additional 2% or 2.5% to the treasurers. I'm assuming that that might change the name of the program. But no, like hypothetically, if we
12.5% for Vermont.
well, like, if we appropriate a program that is called the 10% for Vermont program, but the name changes, like, that's okay, right? Okay, like, it's still gonna go to the same place regardless of a name change, like, it's not gonna go out into the ethers or it's
Buying
allocated.
stationery or,
I think, the treasurer may have some thoughts on
You
branding.
want to tell us who you are?
Yes, Governor Joint
Who
Fiscal
is this
Office,
man?
you're not required, you can have any percentage and still call it 10% of mine if you think that sounds sketchy. It is, I will note in statute in 10 VSA 10, so like that's another thing,
Okay,
with numbers that connect, but yeah, no, if
We
you
don't
can
have-
allocate
okay.
any percent, then it's up to the treasurer to figure out how they brand it or whether they wanna.
But you
Cross
can
it
have,
out
like, a
and-
complete name change. It's like, we can still, it's a safe assumption to be like, this is what we had intended, this is, okay.
Yes, and I would defer to ledge council on how they would, if they want to change the title, or if you all wanted to change the title, then call it something different, that's a ledge council question, but as
Okay.
far as I'm concerned, it doesn't impact money flow or.
Okay, that's really my concern, was like,
So how do people feel about this? I just, like I said, either consensus or people want, if you want to vote no, or you want to register, we can do it through a straw poll, whatever people want to do.
I have a more of a general question.
Yes,
In the 12 million funding.
Yeah.
You said it contains 3 million for separate project within that number. Are they unable, is that money there because they're unable to use the 38 million for that?
I don't know. They sent me an email saying that they would use all the money to build houses. I mean, build units.
Okay.
They sent me an email, just a second, let me look at the email. Let me see if I can find it. But I don't know the answer to that question. I can ask right now.
I'm just curious. I didn't know if it'd be like an internal priority type thing or.
Oh, I think that's very high. I know it's a very high priority, but I think that's an interesting question. I don't know why they couldn't use their base. I don't know.
I don't see why they couldn't. I'm just curious.
They probably could. I don't know. Why don't I ask? But meanwhile.
Yeah.
Just. What do people want to do? Can you run things for a minute while I ask them this question?
Yeah,
I'm wondering about putting a little more emphasis on VHIP.
Yep.
Because we have, of the two programs here, they both have the opportunity to leverage a lot. They're both very active. One of them could use more, the other one's going to vanish if it doesn't go into base. And I think we know the information, we know that, and they can see it. 4 million in base is being requested. But if we either switch the priority or just if it more expressly in the paragraph about VHIP.
why it has to go in the base.
Where this program, the pilot's over, it has to go into base and it's highly effective to launch otherwise.
Can we tell them to use part of the 12 above?
Well,
No, because that's a one time,
directions, but
Well, it's,
and it's two different organizations.
yeah.
I'm talking about just telling appropriations, that if you have
I think that that's
a choice.
it's an interesting point. You want to say, we want to emphasize the VHIP because it's going to disappear. Right.
Yeah,
How about, well, there's two possibilities, and I'll go either way. A minute. I said that small staffs existed for several years, blah, blah, blah. But indications are they'll be moving on this year unless the positions for the successful program become permanent through base funding. Do you want me to switch the order of these two?
possibly. As a folks would read this. Is the position disappear? Will they gather from that the whole program will disappear? It's very much the testimony that we heard.
Well, I can certainly add, I think the program will be heavily compromised. I don't know if it will disappear.
I would agree with that. I'd say heavily compromised would be the word.
That's not what Alex testified.
Yeah. But
He said
indicate-
Alex said it would
He'd be the
disappear.
only one left.
Yes.
He'd have to do it all.
Okay.
Well, I don't know, I think he said, I could put heavily compromised and possibly cease to function. Indications that, the program.
And also, if folks feel really strongly about certain things, you can go testify during your opportunity to
Well-
follow up on these things as well. Tom, if you'd like to do that.
Okay, Tom, I'm going to put at the end that the program would be heavily, if that occurs, the program would be heavily compromised and possibly cease to exist. What do people want me to do otherwise? Yes,
VHCB, it's come up. Joe's been saying it for years. I think it's something that we should talk about is their percentage breakdown. And could they leverage more money if they skew the percentage? I mean, we know they could leverage more money if they skew the percentage towards housing
of their base.
of their base.
They have been told, the way it's been done in the past is that all the one-time money has been told, they've been told they have to spend it for housing.
Correct.
And I don't know what the percentage. Okay,
Isn't it 60-40 or
Something like that.
65-35?
but yeah, it's something like
But the
that.
last testimony sounded 50-50, which I didn't think, I thought it was more 60-40,
Yeah.
but.
So just, Joe, here's the answer I got on your question.
Yeah.
I said to Polly Major, can you use base to pay for developmentally disabled? She writes, yes, but we will do less housing because these units tend to be more expensive because of the need for trauma-informed design and common space. I get worried when we use our base to fund the most expensive units. I think it's one of the best places to put one-time dollars.
Noted.
Yeah. So I don't know whether they've ever been, the only thing I can say about that issue is that it's the issue of the percentage that goes to conservation versus the percentage to housing. Of course, it could be changed. I think that's a really big move. I don't think that we can do it through this letter. I think it's an important question. About which I bet there will be differences of. How do people feel? What do you want to do?
About the whole
letter.
thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it seems good. And again, like I said, if folks feel passionately about particular parts of the letter as individuals, they can also testify next week in front of.
Also, I have been invited to testify when? Thursday. I can easily transmit individual concerns. I'm perfectly willing to do that.
And Wednesday from 11 to noon is the time for regular non-chairs.
Not, is it just another open hearing or is it the
For
hearing
legislators.
for legislators?
Yep.
Yes. Listen, there is a special hearing for legislators and they appear. People come. And you should, anybody who has strong feelings about any of this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Does it
that.
have to be inside your committee?
No,
Any
No.
line item?
No,
No, you just go and testify. Legislators can testify, and they do. So, I mean, I think that's a place to say things like, VHIP is great and you've got to do this, it's going to disappear. It's a time for people to go and say, I think that VHCB base should be more on housing or things like that.
Yep.
They do
Agree.
listen to legislators. I'm not,
Eh,
they do.
I agree. And I think particularly around VHEP would be a place if several members of the committee feel very passionately, could be helpful because I think that there are some members on that committee that may not feel the same way.
Yeah, let's be clear here. I am going to testify that I think that VHIP is a very successful program. And that evidence is that it's just enough already. It's been long enough on one-time money. The reason I think that I want to do that is because there has tended to be, I think, a really unfortunate ideological tinge to this debate, where Republicans have been hostile to VHCB and or the administration are perceived as hostile to VHCB and perceived as very pro, and Democrats to the contrary. And I think what we've heard here is that that's just not a good way of looking at it. They perform different functions and do them well. And I think that it's important to try to transcend that. And I will do that in my testimony. And I believe it. And I actually am saying what I think, not just what you all think. Others' thoughts? Do we send this letter? Claudia, are you okay?
I am. I'm just a little, I'm kind of just like, it's okay at this point. Because it is what it is and we're not gonna get all we want. And like I was trying to convey on Wednesday, I would have liked to see us put the things that are at risk of losing funding that have asks as the higher priority. I know the HCB and VHIP and all those things, and so the language, but like as I don't foresee us moving I don't know, the proper things that we need in alignment with our landlord tenant stuff. Landlord liaison, I feel like should have been moved up to a priority because that's an existing funding that was there that is being depleted. And I just feel like if it goes away, we're taking away resources from folks. But other than that, I mean,
You are making a point. There is already funding for that and it's disappearing. I could put that there. Shall I put it up there? Yeah.
I just want to be assured that the mobile home program with community action, that there's money specific to that program for staffing.
What I am hearing from people. I'm hearing two things. Tell me if I'm skipping ahead of where you really are at. I'm hearing I ought to get rid of the 2 tiers. And I should just put 1 tier. And put the legislation. And then I should move that 1 piece of legislation into the tier, into the main body.
no, I mean, no, it's fine. I mean, I don't know how you would adequately, I don't know, what would you like to see?
I think I will tell you, I don't think it really matters what tier it's in. I think the triage is going to be extensive.
But it can't hurt to ask.
No,
Mary has her hand up.
oh, hi, Mary.
I don't, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Since we seem to be getting to the end of this discussion, I would like to respectfully propose that we also add H57, the survivor's benefit, since that bill passed our committee unanimously twice and was being held up by 2 people in appropriations and is now being held up by 1. So I would just like to be sure that that is added to our list of wants.
I mean, Mary, amen, sister. That being said, there's not really an appropriations.
Well, initially it was not to be sent. Initially, we were going to report the bill. It passed out of our committee and it was on the calendar. And then we were told it had to go to appropriations, where it has sat for quite a long time. And it is my understanding that it is still up on the wall.
And completely agree. Completely agree. But this is our memo to appropriations on how we should be spending money. I mean, I think at this point, I'm just not sure that this is the vehicle to move that. But you know, I'm right there with you, wanting that to move. So I mean, I think we can say, hey, as a reminder, this is on your wall, but I'm not sure that that does anything because it's not an appropriations that we're requesting. And I think because we are in such a difficult budget year, and granted they're all difficult. Like Joe said earlier this week, you're stealing from one pocket and putting it into another. But I think I'm concerned that if we do that, they're not going to take seriously all the other work we've also put in. That's just my concern. And that are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts.
What other voices here? Mary's very clear.
Yeah, with that bill, I don't think it requires an appropriation for that bill, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is what this letters for. Just, that's it. I don't think it's a bills that are in your committee you should pass. Like it's, here's things that deserve funding.
I am certainly willing, unless the committee tells me not to, when I testify, to remind the committee that there is a survivor benefits bill on their wall and that the expenditure would be de minimis. Which it is, and hopefully very, very de minimis. But what's the sense of the committee? You,
It seems to be a more germane way to approach it than in the letter,
Mhm.
but I've just soon approach it. That.
I'm happy to do that. I mean, I am happy to remind the
Yeah,
committee.
yeah, it's separate, not in the,
Well, when I testify,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
like Representative Krasnow mentioned, like we can all go down there and make our points during that time. Feel free to throw that one in there as well while you're down there.
Mary, can you hear the debate here?
Yes, I am, but
Okay.
would it be appropriate for our committee to send a separate letter to appropriations? Anyway, not necessarily with this letter, but a separate letter asking them to please do the right thing.
I mean, I think that's a conversation that you go and you sit down in front of them next Wednesday. I did want to double check, literally the only. So it says, state statute 3173 monetary benefit. The survivors of emergency personnel who dies, it's changed to die while in the line of duty or from an occupation-related illness may apply for a payment of $80,000 from the state. That's the only sort of relationship to appropriations. I'm not sure I would feel comfortable doing that as a committee letter. But I am absolutely comfortable going down there and screaming to the rooftop how important that bill is.
Mhm.
Other people? I mean, I think the consensus is that and I'm happy to do it, Mary, but also others might want to go and testify on this issue.
Okay, I appreciate that. I just feel it's really important to have that bill pass, and I think it's just horrible that that bill has been held up in that committee for so long because of two people.
Mary, how about another option too? It sounds like our chair is willing to bring it up, but excuse me, another option I've seen folks do is I'm happy to work with you to draft a letter to the committee, and if folks on our committee would like to sign on to that, we can send it to the committee. Not necessarily at the same time because they're very jammed up, but before crossover, and make sure that folks from our committee who feel passionately about it can sign on if you'd like me to help draft that letter to the committee.
I would appreciate that very much. Thank you so much.
Emily, that's a great solution.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you,
All
everyone.
right, so I'm hearing that I need to emphasize that VIA really could disappear. I need to eliminate the attempt to in any way indicate side with respect to the Labor Relations Board to the side between mediator and an attorney. Am I hearing also that I should take the landlord tenant education program and move it out of just legislation into, the list? Okay. That's what I'm hearing. Other suggestions? Yes.
When we talked about VHIP disappearing, did I understand correctly that they were saying that like they wouldn't even have the staffing available to finish to finish oversight of projects that have already been approved?
Thank you.
And so it's not even like a program that is disappearing, but that it would have gotten a false start.
Correct.
That it would be literally undermined.
I think that,
Which
think
makes me
you're
think
right.
that that's a poorly designed program to
Well,
put as a pilot.
no.
Well,
it's
we're
not
the ones
valid.
trying for
They didn't. he
the
wanted-
last 4 years to put it in base, but that didn't happen.
Joe,
Alex commented that they would only have staff enough to follow up on what's already out there.
yeah, I
They would
don't,
not be, they would not be making more grants.
They would not be able to follow.
The most they would be able to do with the staff they have. Yes,
I think
Is
Josh
to
testified.
finish oversight?
yes,
Okay.
is what I remember.
Not, I was gonna say part of the oversight wouldn't, because I had asked about, there's the stipulations of like the 5-year, 10-year. And they wouldn't be able to follow that.
Didn't Sean testify? I mean, they really didn't get into it because they don't want to get into it, but I think what Sean said at one point is I'd just be spending my life.
Yeah.
That would be it, on making sure that people were following the rental guidelines. Yeah, they certainly wouldn't be doing anything new.
And we also, like other things, once I see it's cookie time. Once we, make these commitments to put it in, then it's easier to not have a death spiral in the future. We want to maintain this type of program moving forward. Normally, right? So that we're not every year coming back. I mean, that's why they want to be in the base so that it is consistent. And I think it's time.
I think when I testify, I have to be really clear.
Yeah.
I think I have to say something like that we know, the committee knows that it's hard to find base funding. Much harder than one-time funding. We know that. And last year, that may have been the motivation that allowed by which we didn't put it in base. But the evidence before us, and we took testimony on this point, is that the time has run out. And that if we don't put this in base, there's a strong likelihood the program will cease to exist. And here's why. The worst they can do is not listen to me, which has happened before.
You have very limited time.
You know,
I was going to say, Mark, we get 3 minutes. How much time do you get?
Y'all get ample time in the hallways.
That, or we could, I'll go and I'll just, what is it? Yield my time
yield
to
your
you.
time. No, I think I'll have 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. They're not gonna want a lot. But listen, I can say that it's clearly the most important thing for me to say. I don't think. I guess my feeling is in reality, it's impossible to predict what an individual employee is going to do. But so it's impossible to know what individual employees of VHIP that work on VHIP are going to do. If it's yet again one, all they get is extension of their, what's it called? Limited
Service. Limited
limited
service.
service. It's impossible to know. But I think it's fair to say that it would be a very substantial risk that they'll lose their personnel. I mean, it's been what, 3 years? Is that right? 3 years? Anybody remember?
I mean, 5, if you want to go back to the,
No, but
oh,
how long have they been asking for base?
3 years.
3 years. Yeah, okay. Anything else? Tell me. Yes. You want me to put? Yeah, okay, go on.
It's for, you had received a flyer from, Amy sitting in here. But you and I spoke, and I spoke to someone else, and I don't remember who it was, when I was talking about there's no set aside money for manufactured homes. And what was said to me is that 10% can be used for anything to
It
do
can.
with manufactured home. But can we be specific? That's a no.
Well, of course, it's not a no. This is the same issue that Tom brought up earlier. Let me see if I can say this in a politic way. The fact is, we are adding to the budget of the treasurer's project. That project, that whole project does not have a extensive definition in state law. It is defined in their own guidance documents and in the initiatives that undertaken by LIHTC, the board of individuals who, when they put out an RFP, look at the individual projects. Given the lack of statutory specificity, there is nothing that would stop a future treasurer at the moment from deciding to spend the money some other way. We made a decision in 775 that we would not take on that whole big picture problem, but instead would add this whole credit facility and add what we're talking about. And that language was drafted broadly enough to allow the money to be spent for manufactured housing as well as off-site housing. But that's all. We have not taken on the job of completely revising that. And I think if we want to talk about that more, we should talk about it in a little bit when we get to 775.
Okay.
Anything else? How do you feel about just giving me the authority to rewrite this letter sometime today and send it off? Do you feel secure enough that I won't do something that won't go rogue?
Yeah, having had the
Laura?
conversation.
Are you okay, Joe? Are you okay? What do you
No.
guys? You're not.
I'm not, if we're doing like a straw poll thing,
Should we do a straw poll?
I'm just, so. However it gets
You don't,
sent to them is fine, but I'm just letting you know that for me.
it's not. Okay. Anybody else a no on this?
I said yes, don't look at me. We're not
Okay.
hearing any more no's.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna send it. I understand, Joe. You're saying I've sent. Okay. Yeah. Are you guys comfortable? Mary,
Yes.
Elizabeth, Emily? Can I?
Yeah,
Okay. Liz, did I hear you? Elizabeth, are you okay?
Yeah, she said.
Okay, all right. All right. Let's move on. The next
There's a
thing,
thumbs up.
yes, the
Definitely.
next thing on our agenda, and we have Katie with us. Katie, you want to come up?
Sure.
We have 861, which is an act relating to establishing the Americans with Disabilities Act Coordinator. And am I right? Okay, well, wait, sit down.
Hello.
Tell us who you are.
I sure would. Katie McGlynn, Office of Legislative Counsel.
Okay, Katie, is this in its current form a short form bill?
It is a short form bill.
Okay, so members of the committee. You can talk about the subject matter. Right?
I have a little bit.
Okay, but I think the operative question, am I right, is we want to ask her to draft a long form bill. That's the operative, there actually is an action before us. We can or cannot, it's up to us, ask to draft a long form bill. If she does that, you are not committing to one way or the other as to whether you will take it up, whether you will have witnesses, et cetera. But it's the next step.
And there's a vote of the committee required to turn a short form into a long form.
Okay. Oops, we just lost. We lost our, and our clerk is on the screen rather than here in person, so
I don't think you have to do a real vote
No.
do we have to do a
I
vote?
thought that you.
with the clerk.
No,
Can we do a straw poll?
The rules, but I asked.
You would know better than I, but I was my understanding we didn't have to do like a clerk roll call for take a
No.
bill.
definitely.
Check the house rules.
Despite the rules, it's always just been,
Right.
I mean, you wouldn't be here, I don't think, if it wasn't.
Otherwise, we've been doing it wrong then.
I don't mind, we could always do it wrong.
I don't think you'd be in that chair if it wasn't.
I think that we could always do it wrong and ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
That's how I roll.
Valid observation, Jim.
Oh, really? Noticed a few things, oddly enough.
Short form bills shall be drafted in standard form by the Office of Legislative Counsel only if requested by a majority vote of the committee to which the bill has been referred.
That doesn't answer the question of the form of the vote.
Doesn't.
You could do a straw poll.
Okay, the chair rules,
Yeah.
the chair rules.
Uh-oh.
We are going to do it by straw poll, only because member Parsons has so indicated. Okay,
I've also indicated, yeah.
all right.
I'm
Seriously.
raising
just
my
a
hand
fence
as the
going
straw.
Okay, all right. So Katie,
Mhm.
take it away.
I
Okay.
thought, oops.
Do you have it loaded on your iPads? And you have members on the screen, so I don't want to cover the screen. So 861 short form bill. All the information we have about this bill is this bill proposes to establish an independent Americans with Disability Act coordinator within state government. So I will need more information from this committee to make a standard form bill. I'm happy to do that. As this committee probably knows already, the ADA does require the designation of an ADA coordinator in any local or state government that has 50 or more employees. This is different. This is envisioning something that would be sort of a statewide ADA coordinator. I briefly looked to see what other states were doing, and it looks like there are a few other states that have somebody appointed as a statewide ADA coordinator. But if you decide that you would like to move forward with this language, some things that this committee would need to address before I could start drafting would be where in state government is this position located? Is it an existing position that already exists and you're giving somebody additional authority? This says independent. So would it function completely separately from any other office? And if so, how does the budget work? Those are some issues that came up when we worked on the Office of Child, Youth and Family Advocate in terms of having an independent office. What would the qualifications of this individual be?
If it's a statutory position, would this be somebody who has special training or experience? Would this person have, what would their responsibilities be? I'm sure you'd probably want to set those out in statute. About specific coordination that this person would be doing or oversight. Would this person have any staff to do the work, depending on what their work is? Would this person have a responsibility of reporting back about the work they're doing, and if so, to whom? And then, appropriation, if this is a new position, it would need to be authorized. If it's additional work for an existing position, you might have a smaller appropriation. Anyway, lots of food for thought for you.
So just to clarify, and then would like to turn it over, if it's okay with you, to Elizabeth to sort of indicate her thinking on this.
Please.
To clarify, what the ADA requires that states or local governments or governmental entities with 50 or more employees have an ADA coordinator. So it's for them. Is the idea that this coordinator is coordinating their own activities, their own, in other words, is the state doing, and when it does buildings, presumably, et cetera, for example, it's determining that entity's compliance with the ADA, not other entities or generally.
I'm not sure I'm understanding your question. Are you saying is the point of this person to coordinate other ADA coordinators that are designated under this?
No, I was just wondering that under the
projects.
ADA, I'm not talking about what Elizabeth is proposing.
Oh,
Just under the ADA is the idea that if a governmental entity has over 50 employees, it has to have an ADA coordinator whose job it is to oversee whether that entity's activities comply with the ADA. Okay. So I guess, Elizabeth, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I guess this would be for Elizabeth as well. Well, she explains to us kind of her thought process behind it. The point that you just brought up was just one of my questions in that long list of how this would work would be like Agatha Kessler is our ADA compliance person for the State House. Would that role is no longer needed, or is this the top person that all the other people still have to remain as ADA coordinators for their separate spots?
this
And they
wouldn't
just
change
have-
federal law. So the existing requirement that governmental entities of 50 or more employees designate an ADA coordinator is federal law. So
Yeah.
whatever you do as the state wouldn't take away that requirement. So yes, there would still need to be those positions.
So all those still need to exist.
So currently, we're in violation of state law by not having such a coordinator.
No. So
No,
Federal law.
no, to the extent that governmental entities with 50 or more employees have an ADA coordinator now, they are in compliance with the law. This, I believe, is looking at
Right.
a point.
But do we have an ADA coordinator
Yes. Yeah, Agatha Kessler.
For the State House?
for the state?
Not that I know of. I believe this is why this is being raised.
Every agency and thing, they all have their own.
Okay. So Mike, I'm gonna ask you for comment, Elizabeth, but I want to put a sort of basic question really basic question on the table for you. I think the question for you to answer for yourself is kind of, do you want to go minimalist in the light of the budgetary constraints and how near we are to crossover and all that stuff? And that would mean parking this somebody somewhere and trying to minimize the budget and maybe less staff and et cetera. In other words, it would be getting half a loaf at best now with the idea of building on it. Or do you want to say to yourself, no, I really want it to be what it ideally should be. And if it doesn't make it this session, then we'll reintroduce it next session. And then I want a long form bill to look like it should. So I don't know, maybe I'm wrong in putting those two extremes out there, but I'm just trying, it's food for thought for you, which way you want to go. So what's your thoughts and your thoughts on these questions?
My thoughts are that while there are several ADA positions within our state government, they have to do with compliance regarding working conditions, including at the State House. But Title II requires coordination of services among departments, and we don't do that. And my feeling is that, and we have had lawsuits that have been filed against our state government as a result of that. My feeling is that we should ideally be going above and beyond the requirements of the ADA, but that we're not meeting the minimal requirements at this time. And I'm not actually talking necessarily about accessibility to buildings or provision of what do you call assistive devices or other accommodations. I am actually talking, and I am not discounting that in any way. It's extremely important for people to be able to do their work, but I'm responding to problems that I have seen with service provision among collaboration among agencies that is required in Title II of the ADA. So I'm not married to the idea of it being an independent office, but I do think that it is important that it is understood to be a coordinator role and not just like a service coordinator role and not just a accommodations coordinator. Does that make sense?
So what I'm hearing you say is that for you, ideally, we could, well, let me ask you a question. If we park, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine that a bill, we would have a successful bill that created a new department or a completely independent entity. So if we were going to park it somewhere, where do you think the safest and best place to park it would be?
The agency of administration.
And do you think that it could be one person to start?
I think it can be one person to start. I have a friend who is the ADA coordinator for the state of Indiana, and she is a one-man show or a one-woman show.
Is Indiana a sort of a guide to look
No.
at?
No, but I recently restarted communications with her, and when she looked at what happens in our state, she just did a very cursory look. She told me that this would be a great place to start.
What kind of qualifications of the individual are we talking about?
Well, obviously an expertise in the ADA would be preferable. Work in this field would be preferable. I think that we don't necessarily want to hire from within the state, but if there is somebody in the state who meets those qualifications, then that's great. But I do think that if we did decide to take this up and develop it into a full-length proposal, that we should be taking plenty of testimony from people with lived experience. And we have a couple of people who can speak to what is required of that role.
Katie, you are probably familiar with the number of bills which have created professional positions, but not attorney positions, but professional. Are we sort of talking about 130K?
Oh, it's a JFO question, but I mean, you have to factor in benefits, so,
150?
not the best person to answer that.
In the absence of anything better, let's say 150. Okay. All right. Elizabeth, is there anything else? Okay, so anything else you want to add?
Can I, oh,
Go ahead, Emily.
well, I mean, this is just, again, I can't support this. It's just gone on way too long, and we're lucky is not even the word, that we haven't had more issues around not having this. And it really should be in the governor's budget and within the administration, this type of thing, I think. But we're gonna have to, I think it's very important, and I don't wanna, I really would like to see this through. I don't want to see this come up again.
I think Joe, and then,
I don't have any.
no, Tom.
You saw a name somewhere in that direction.
Sure,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just, so coming into compliance with ADA, I am good with, I support. Under Title II, it's required that there be a responsible employee to coordinate efforts to comply. Is it necessary that this be a full-time position, or is this a responsibility that can be added to the portfolio of somebody who's already in the system? That, you know, where it makes some sense anyways.
Could I make a clarifying statement?
Sure, please.
So the requirement in the ADA is not that we have to have a statewide point person, it's that each state or local governmental entity with 50+ employees has to have a designee within
Right.
their, so I am hesitant to call this, necessary to comply with ADA. I think this is something to help coordinate the ADA responsibilities, but if all of the separate governmental entities with 50+ already have their designee, then we don't have a compliance
It's not a
issue.
compliance issue,
Yeah.
but a coordination issue.
Coordination issue, yes.
Is legit. Okay. So again, I mean, the same question is, does it need a full-time position, or is it something we need to make sure is in somebody's wheelhouse?
I think I'm gonna say this. Let me try here. Before I indicate what my feeling is, I think the issue before us is, do we ask Katie to draft a long form bill? And give her just enough information so that she can put a legitimately articulated long form bill together. I think then issues like the one you're raising are issues that we would discuss if we then decide to take this bill off the wall
Right.
and do something with it, which then we're going to have witnesses and discussion. My personal feeling, which Elizabeth probably won't like, my personal feeling is, I don't know if we'll get to this session, but I want to see a fully formed bill put together so that we have it. And if it's not this session, it's next. I'm not suggesting it wouldn't be this section, but I think it's time to go beyond a short form bill and get a bill that's a long form bill that's there, that's on our wall, that we know is articulated. It's true, I understand everything on the wall we don't get to is just supposedly incinerated instantly as of the end of the session, but I still, I don't forget.
They don't
So-
delete the files, I think.
No, I don't.
No.
And I think that enough's enough, and it's worth, I'm with Emily, it's worth getting this bill out and articulated. That's my personal view, but it's just me speaking as an individual how do members of the committee feel on the question of whether this should go into a long form bill? Yes.
I strongly support it. I absolutely support it. And if it doesn't, for whatever reason, then I would love to see language in some of our other policy, bills, whether it's within the wheelhouse of, designating somebody within the Human Rights Commission or somebody else, or just having folks come in from the agency, that where you think that this should lie, Elizabeth, and just asking them for a report of what their activities have been to try to coordinate statewide.
Other members, how do you
That's
feel?
that's a good idea. I'd like like what Rep. Dodge said, I would like to have them in and ask them these tough questions. Like what this is, what I'm not an expert, but if it's the agency of the administration, at least I'd like to have them answer to this.
Mary, do you have any thoughts that you wish to add?
I totally agree with what has been said. I think that it's very important in its time, and so I agree.
Others, Debbie?
Yeah.
Saudia? Do we go to a long form bill?
I have to see a little.
Okay, Katie, do you have what you need to put pencil to paper?
I have enough to do a short outline. I think if you want more details, I will.
Medium form bill.
It will, I will create a new section of statute and I will create the position. It would be great to have more information about, we talked about that this person would be in a coordinating role. But what does that mean to you? What do you mean by a coordinating role? What would you like to see? So I think those are sort of the pieces that I would need a little more information on.
Is it legitimate to ask Elizabeth to be in contact with you on questions that you have?
That would be fantastic. Yeah. That would
I
work.
have a lot
Are
of,
you up?
I do have a lot of information gathered about it.
Perfect.
Okay, all right.
And I was trying to say my 2 cents, but I was just saying, I do think you should get a short form, but I also think you should not only get a short form. Once you get that, I think you should take it up. Your touch on.
Okay, so what we have here, what I'm reading is consensus, a vote has occurred. I declare that a vote has
An
occurred.
expression of support.
No, that a vote has occurred authorizing legislative council. We're on video. I'm taking the risk. That a vote has occurred authorizing legislative council to draft a long form bill. In the process, she may communicate with Representative Burrows. There is some substantial support for actually taking the bill up, which I caution will be a decision we will all make
Later.
after we get a few bills out of here. We can take a breath. All right, Katie, do you have anything else? Thank you. Okay, my question to the committee is, the next item we have is another august member of Legislative Council is here to help us out with some changes to 775, and we are scheduled for a vote. What I did was I put it on with Miriam's help. We switched it to 11:30 because I just don't want to take the whole afternoon on this because snow is coming in. Although some of us actually have the luxury of being home. Anyway, I think my question is, do we need a break or do you want to go right into this?
I think a break is needed.
Okay, we're going to take 5 minutes, please, only for a break. I really do want to have a little real time before 11 o'clock. Cameron is here, so
For noon.
this is a